I am Daniel Leakes, and welcome to Book 101. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He's the author of the book Kill Sequence.
Hello, how you doing?
Welcome back, Mr. Steve. I'm fabulous like you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
It's been a long time, right?
I know, but it's my fault. It's all my fault. I'd said, yeah, we could do something. I'd be available a week or two later, and it's been, gosh, how long now? Nearly 2 months. It's just life got in the way.
Yes. So fast. I know you're busy for another book that you are writing right now.
Yeah. I'm still working on Colton. I hope to have the first draft complete by Christmas, which is long overdue. It should have been done like a year ago, really. So I need to crack on and get that finished. And then maybe once that's done, maybe I can start a sequel to Kill Sequence next year. We'll see.
Sounds interesting, Mr. Steve. And good luck for Carlton.
Thank you. I'm excited for it.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit of this spoiler alert regarding the new book?
Oh, Colton. Well, yeah. Colton. It's not a sequel in any sense to Kill Sequence. It's a whole new character. It's a disgraced FBI agent who visits the UK, the British Lake District, and finds trouble. It's kind of, it's a detective mystery. It's cool. I really like him, and he's quite funny, this character as well. So I'm enjoying writing him. My problem at the minute is I'm not quite sure because I tend to write in the pantsing style, which means I don't really have that much of a clue what's going on half of the time. And at the moment, I'm trying to figure out what the ending's going to be before I get back and rewrite the whole thing, because nothing's going to be right once I've finished it. But once I know what the ending is, then I can make everything right next time around.
Yes, and good luck for that.
Thank you. I need it.
So today we're gonna review how many books today, Mr. Steve?
Well, because I've never done a book review on a podcast, so I thought it'd be a good idea to start with 3. So let's start with 3 books from 3 indie authors, all of whom are just brilliant, and I love all 3 of them. And they'll hate me saying that, no doubt. And I hope they're not listening to this, because I'm probably going to ruin their books for them. But I really want to talk about these books because they're great and they're brilliant writers.
Yes, and they are recommended to read for you.
Absolutely. They're all top stars, 5-star.
Okay, at number 1.
Let's start with some gritty crime noir from Anthony Neil Smith, who is an amazing American author. He's got more, I think it's more than 30 books he's got out there in the world. And I came across him about a year and a half ago with his novel, well, it's a novella actually, called Slow Bear. And it's about a Native American in North, and he's an ex-cop. And he's kind of unique because he's an ex-cop he's a reservation cop. And he's also a dirty ex-reservation cop. He's also only got one arm because of something that happened, I think in a previous book that I haven't read. And this guy he's kind of a bad guy, and he's a total loser. I mean, if anything can go wrong for Slow Bear, it absolutely will. And somehow he scrapes his way through. But the thing about the book is that this character, he's hilarious in his badness, but he really does, I think he's got a conscience going on. And during the course of the book, he falls in love with, well, I'm not going to say falls in love, he falls in lust with a barmaid from his local bar. And something happens to her, and he kind of goes to the rescue, shall we say?
Yes.
And it's it's dark, it's pacey, violent, action, but honestly, it's very funny and very fast moving. And the thing about Anthony Neil Smith is he's got such a distinctive narrative voice. I mean, he's like the best writers in that, you know, if you read a chapter or a paragraph to me of Stephen King or Lee Child, I could probably take a good guess and say, yeah, that's Lee Child or that's Stephen King. And it's the same with Anthony Neil Smith. I recognise his style anyway because he's got such a strong voice. It's brilliant. It's brilliant stuff. And there's a sequel out as well, Slower Bear.
Oh, wow.
That came out about 2 months ago. And it's even better than the first one. It's funnier, it's faster, crazier. And again, this guy just has no luck whatsoever, this character. But he's totally lovable for all the wrong reasons. And somehow Smith just makes him fabulous.
Give me 3 reasons why you recommended this book.
For me, it's funny, gritty, noir, and I know it's 4, but it's completely unique.
Yes. So do you think the author give the full backup for the character of the story?
Background.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I mean, I read this, but it was enough because I believe this character was created in one of Smith's previous books as kind of a side character who, as I understand it, he finally did something good and it cost him his arm. But I think that book was called Worm, and it's supposed to be superb, and I will get around to reading that one. But you can pick Slow Bear up. There's enough background information in there that you don't need to have read the previous novel, and that's what I did. I read it, you know, without any of that knowledge. So there's enough there. You don't feel like you're in the dark.
If you give a synopsis of the book, what is it?
Well, I'm going to read from the back of the book, okay? Because it's much better than anything I can say. So, in the oil fields of North Dakota, times were good during the boom. Some people got rich. Santana, the exile, certainly did. A lot of other people got jobs. A lot of bars and strip joints got busy. Then the boom times ended and everything slowly crumbled back to the red dust from which it was built. Micah Slow Bear Cross used to be a reservation cop. He wasn't good at it, but he was good at being bad at it.
Sounds interesting, Mr. Steve.
It's great. Listen, I can't emphasize enough. It's terrific. Anthony Neil Smith is such a great writer. He really ought to have a Big 5 contract. And this character Slow Bear is so much fun. You've got to read it. And when you do read it, anyone that's listening, please leave a review because we all need these reviews. But this is an absolute favorite for me the last year. It's terrific.
Mr. Anthony inspired you in your writing?
No. Sorry to tell him that, but I only came across Anthony Neil Smith about a year ago, around about the time that I was querying my book Kill Sequence, and it blew me away. It really blew me away. There's even some. No, I'm not going to say no. I wouldn't do that to Anthony, but there's even some things that he does in his writing that I like doing in my writing. Like occasional. He has an occasional staccato style.
Yes.
Which I've been told I overdo. I don't think I do, but some people think I do. But yeah, I don't want to offend him and say it's similar because we're not similar. He's leagues better than me and always will be. But maybe there's something there that made me think, that's kind of familiar. But his writing is it's sensational. It really is, and it's true. If you read a paragraph from any one of his books that I haven't read, I'd recognise his style straight away. He's that strong.
Mr. Anthony, writing that you like best?
Gritty, funny, pacey, violent, unapologetic.
Very well said, Mr. Steve. Mr. Steve, highly recommended to read.
Highly, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Well, there's two actually. The first one, these are novellas. The first one is Slow Bear, And the second one, which just came out a couple of months ago, is Slower Bear.
So if you rate those books 1 to 10, where are they?
Oh, they're easily tens.
Definitely 10, people. Okay, let's move to your number 2 book to review.
Okay, so this one's a bit different because, as you know, I am myself a gritty, hard-boiled butch writer of gritty, dark things. So I'm now going to review a romance novel, a girly romance novel as well, that I read only a few weeks ago, and it took me completely by surprise, and I started reading it. I could not stop reading it, and I read the whole thing in about 2 days' time, and it was fantastic.
In 2 days' time, so you meant to say, oh, I need to sit and read this book.
Yeah, honestly, it's not usually my kind of thing, but I'm going to read the sequels for sure. So it's a book called Learning to Love Again. I know, right? Gritty. Spoiler alert, there is no grittiness in this book, but there are a lot of steamy scenes. Very steamy, Daniel.
Yeah.
Don't read it to your grandma. But it's a great story. It's from an author called Riley Rowan, English author. It's the tale of a woman, Ella. She's a new teacher who moves to a new town, and she's got a background, and she's got some personal issues with trust and self-confidence and things like that. And she meets a local stud, Luke, and he gets infatuated with her. She likes him, but she's too nervous. She doesn't trust him. And then it turns out that they have to work together, and he's her boss, and they become friends, and then very flirtatious, and then things happen as they do in romance novels. And as I say, there are steamy scenes, but there's a lot of tears as well, Daniel. I mean, this book made me cry at one point. And as I say, I'm just repeating this. I'm a gritty, hard-boiled, badass writer. Yeah, right. And this, I actually teared up in at least one scene in this book. And if an author can do that to me, then it's a great writer. It's a great writer.
So, Mr. Steve, if you compare this love story to another love stories that you read, do you think this is superb?
Well, here's the thing. I haven't really read any other love stories.
This is the only one.
This is the only one. But it won't be the last one. My wife came in. I was reading this. I work from home, so I have an office at home.
Yes.
I'm emphasizing this now. During my lunch hour, I wasn't Skyping. I wasn't pretending to work and not working. During my lunch hour, my wife wandered into the office, and I was reading this book. And she said, "What are you reading?" And I told her, "I'm reading a romance novel." And she couldn't believe it. And I said, "Not only am I reading it, but I'm absolutely consuming it. I mean, I was chewing it up. It was fantastic." So I can't fault it. I can't compare it to another love story, really, because I don't read romance novels, but I will after this.
So do you think in the future you can write a romance novel like that?
Me?
Yes.
No, I don't. Not unless people are dying all the time.
Yes.
I can't write like that. I can't write that kind of style, and it's very emotional, and it's a perfect, perfect character arcs, and all the motivations are dead right, and touching, and all that, and funny, and yeah, but no, I couldn't. My wife said maybe you should write one, and no, I wouldn't even dare. I wouldn't dare attempt it.
Yes, I encourage you to write one, Mr. Steve. Romance, then sci-fi chiller.
That's a tough. I mean, at the moment, I'm writing crime, but I'm always tempted, even with crime, I'm always tempted to sort of, run off into something weird, like maybe paranormal or sci-fi or something. I can't help it. So that's actually one of the delays with Colton, is because I keep on wanting to turn it into something maybe paranormal or
a little bit romance.
Or Maybe turn it into a romance novel. Maybe. And
Yeah.
I've had to keep myself on the straight and narrow and behave. And
Yes.
right,
Probably in the finale, Mr. Steve, we have romance in the end.
Maybe. I mean, there is a possible love interest. You never know. You never know. But I'll tell you what, I won't be writing. I mean, there are steamy scenes in this, and I couldn't even. No, I wouldn't dare. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. You're going to think I'm only giving it 5 stars because of the steamy scenes, aren't you? But I'm not. I'm not.
So, what is the highlight of the books that make you cried?
You know what? It's a really odd thing. It was a scene where Ella is comforting Luke after his grandfather's passed away, and he's really upset about it. And she's just comforting him, and it really got to me. She's just giving him a hug, hugging him and saying it's going to be okay, you're not on your own. And it really got to me.
Oh, that's the scene. Yes, that's the scene that really.
I'm finding out now, thinking about it.
Give you those tears. Oh,
it's awful. It's
really amazing.
It's Learning to Love Again by Riley Rowan.
You rate this book 1 to 10. Where is it?
Absolutely a 10.
Okay, people, let's read this book, and can we cry also?
I think you will. I'll have any say in it. Yeah, you will. Just like I said earlier, don't read it to your grandmother because of these steamy scenes.
Yes.
Yeah, don't read it aloud.
Yes. It's nice to cry, people. Come on. It's give your, what do you call this? For men, give you one more year to live on this earth.
Yeah.
It says that if man is only emotional, it gives more a year and a year to live. Okay, Mr. Steve, let's do your number 3 book.
Okay, the third one. This might not be a surprise because I've made no secret of the fact that I love this guy's writing. And he sounds like he's become a close personal friend of yours because you've interviewed him a few times recently. The novel's called A Life Eternal, and it's from one of my favourite authors, another British author from up in Newcastle in the northeast of England. It's a guy called Richard Eyre. And he's written this novel, A Life Eternal. I know you've spoken to him about this. And it's basically about a guy in World War One who essentially should die on the battlefield and doesn't. And he discovers that he's immortal. And he doesn't know why. And he kind of spends the book really. It's a historical thing as much as anything. It's a speculative thing. But again, it's not necessarily the kind of thing I would read. But if it's Richard Eyre, I'll pick it up because I love his writing so much. This one really got to me. I think this was possibly my absolute favourite of last year. It's really powerful.
What qualities of Mr. Richard that you like best in terms of writing?
Well, he's certainly got an amazing imagination. Almost like, in the vein of Stephen King, but he writes so many different genres. He does horror, he does a bit of sci-fi, he's done this speculative bit, he can do historical, he did Shadow of the Knife, which is that historical murder mystery. But the thing about all of his stuff is he's got this incredibly unique voice, this incredibly unique narrative voice. So you can, even before I'd ever heard him speaking, I could kind of hear his Geordie accent when I read his writing, and it's not really a deliberate thing. He's not trying to put his accent into the narrative. It's just how he thinks, and it's beautiful. I absolutely adore his writing style, and coupled with all these his crazy stories and these brilliant characters. yeah, I just love his stuff. But I think A Life Eternal is, for me, far and away the best one.
So if you compare Mr. Richard Eyre from other authors that you like best, what make him distinguished?
I think certainly the fact that the imagination's always there. It's always something a bit different. Whether it be, sci-fi or a bit of horror or psychological horror or just speculative. But like I say, he's got this really strong voice that I really enjoy, and I think other people would as well. And really, he ought to be much better read, much wider read than he is. He's like the other two authors. He really ought to be a big five writer, and it kind of upsets me that these three aren't big five writers. But there we go.
Yes.
But yeah, like the other author that I mentioned, Richard Eyre is completely distinctive. And when I'm reading his stuff, I'm completely engulfed by it. I forget everything and lose myself in the story. And all three of these stories are the kind of things that, how a really good book stays with you. It'll just always stay with you. You'll always remember it. You'll always think back to it.
True.
And that's what makes A Life Eternal so special. I think it's really powerful.
Why do you think that A Life Eternal is powerful?
Well, it's an interesting question that's posed early on, and it's not entirely unique. I mean, there's other kind of immortal stories out there and time traveler stories out there, but I think it starts out really strongly because it's historically accurate. Well, I assume it is. I'm not a historian, but I know he is, so I'm assuming he's.
Yes.
But it raises this really interesting question because this character, Rob Deakin, is really genuinely confused about what's happened to him. And he's a little bit afraid because, why isn't he dead when everyone else is dying all around him? And he's okay and he's miraculously recovering. And the whole book really is for this. It's him searching for why he's like this and what it does to him as a person. And the confusion and loneliness. And then he kind of feels that he's going to lose his humanity towards the end of it. The really powerful questions. And this isn't like an action thriller. It's not Highlander. It's not that kind of thing. It's a really interesting, it's almost like a journal of this guy's kind of confused life and the different eras that he lives through, and how gradually he's coming to terms with who he is, and then he's losing himself a little bit, and all the while he's trying to get closer to the reason that he's like this. And then at the end, there's a fantastic reason for it all, and it's a really uplifting ending as well.
Yes.
What a book! It's a fantastic book. I love this one.
If you're writing a book, what makes you triggered to write it?
Well, yeah, there's generally a basic concept that comes to mind. I like to have three ideas. So I've got a basic concept, and then I kind of need another two things to come into it. So if I've got an idea, I want a couple more ideas that can sort of interweave with that key concept. Whether it's just motivations or what, but I think if you've got three key components that the characters have to work around and navigate around, then that works well.
Yes.
As I say though, I'm kind of what they call a pantser, so I'll come up with these concepts, but I don't generally know what I'm going to do with them as I write along. And more often than not, I start writing and get to a midpoint and then an end point, and I find that the beginning of the book, as written, is completely wrong and doesn't match up to the end anymore because the story evolved into something that I wasn't expecting. So then I have to go back in the second draft and completely change the beginning to make it all add up. It's a slapdash way of doing things, and people keep telling me I shouldn't do it that way, that I should plan, and that I should be a plotter, but I'm too lazy.
Okay. So, Mr. Steve, if you want to rate A Life Eternal 1 to 10, where is it?
Yeah, this will shock you, I know, It's gonna be a 10.
Okay, so if you recommended this book, give the best highlight of this book.
My goodness, that's a really tough one. It's not one highlight. I think what really impresses me about it most is that it's one character and he's going through distinct eras over this kind of, 120-year period. And they are distinct periods in time. And he really, Richard really puts you into these eras. And it's I mean, at some point, Rob Deakins I think he's in America. I think he's in New York for a time. And again, it's very convincing. You're there with him in New York. So yeah, I think that's the highlight for me. And I'm generally not into historical fiction per se, but I found it fascinating.
Yes, they are fascinating and they are recommended to read because they said history repeats itself.
Yes.
So, Mr. Steve, let's talk about your book, Kill Sequence.
Oh, okay. We can do that.
Again, yes, I want to promote your book, Kill Sequence, and let's talk about one of the best highlight of your book.
Oh, it's all highlights. It's all highlights, Daniel. It's an amazing book.
I read it, and it's highly recommended to read out there, people. So where do people buy your book?
My book, Kill Sequence, is at the moment it's only available on Amazon. It's on Kindle Unlimited, and obviously you can buy the paperback. But at the moment, it's just on Amazon.
And how about your upcoming book, Mr. Steve?
Well, I don't know. I haven't. I don't have a publisher for it yet because I've not been able to show it to anyone because it's nowhere near ready for human consumption. So I don't know. I'm hoping it'll be done by the middle of next year, and maybe we'll have a publisher soon after. But I'm being an optimist there. But hopefully, I can get it out there next year. Fingers crossed.
So we're calling out there any publishing company. Let's support Mr. Steve Griffiths for his new book, Colton.
Yeah.
Yes. Once again, Mr. Steve, invite our listeners to read your book.
Please do. It's I hear, I'm told it's a lot of fun. I hope it's a lot of fun. It's kind of crazy. It's fast-paced, kinetic. It's funny, I hope. I'm told it is. It's had some very nice feedback from some, very good writers, actually. So much more than I deserve. People have been very kind about it. But it seems to be a fast, enjoyable read. And, I hope it is. I've not had too much negative. It's all been pretty positive.
Yes.
But it's a kind of, it's not quite sci-fi. It's an action thriller. Fast-moving action thriller, maybe even a little bit speculative. But yeah, I mean, it's almost like James Bond meets, I don't know, War Games or something like that. Or James Bond meets...
So let's do the recap of your recommended book, Mr. Steve. At number 1.
This is in no particular order, right? I'm not ranking.
Okay.
The first one, Slow Bear by Anthony Neil Smith. Total gritty noir crime thriller. And it's fantastic. And then the second one is a total girly romance novel that I completely loved. It's called Learning to Love Again by Riley Rowan. And again, it's brilliant.
Fascinating.
And then the third one, obviously, A Life Eternal by Richard Eyre.
Let's shout out to the people listening in these countries. Top 10 countries listening to me. Of course, at number 1, Canada. At number 2, United States. Number 3, Philippines. Thank you so much, Philippines. And at number 4, of course, United Kingdom.
Yes.
At number 5, Germany. Dankeschön. Number 6, India. Thank you so much. Namaste. Number 7, South Korea. 안녕하세요. Thank you so much. Number 8, Australia. Thank you so much, Australia. Number 9, New Zealand. And at number 10, Spain. Gracias. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. And Mr. Steve, thank you so much for your time. More to come, people. See you soon.
See ya.